Hi everyone, Kate Berkner here today with Dr. Tom Phelan, author and creator of 123 Magic and the author of the Manager Mom Epidemic. Good morning, Dr. Phelan.
Good morning, Kay.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good,
Good, glad to hear it. So today we are talking about anger management for parents. One question that we hear frequently and that I actually just saw pop up in a Facebook group the other day was, how the heck do I keep my cool with my kids when I feel like I'm counting all the time and sending them to their room 1,000 times a day? What answer would you give to that parent?
Yeah, well, that's, it's a hard one because you're talking about somebody who is very, very frustrated, and I don't want them getting mad at me on top of everything else, but that may happen anyway. But the first thing is to accept the fact kids are irritating. There's nothing wrong with being irritated at your kids. They are extremely irritating, and in our society, we have a ridiculous romantic view of children that says that it's wrong to get irritated with your kids. The second thing is when the kids, so you need to accept that in yourself. When the kids are, misbehaving or irritating, there are two things that are important. One is you need to have a strategy, and it sounds like the person who asked the question might be trying to use counting and a rest period or something like that. You need to have a strategy that you use calmly and decisively. And what that also means is that strategy doesn't mean arguing, yelling, nagging, and all that at the kids. So my guess is that the person who's doing this is having trouble with the talking part of it as well. And that there's nothing as inflammatory as an arguing, nagging, give and take back and forth with the kids. It makes you more angry, it makes them more angry, it makes them less likely to cooperate. So I would ask the person who asked the question, how close to calm and decisive are you in these situations? And what would we need to do to get you to calm and decisive while you're doing the 1, 2, 3 magic strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is the case that if you're counting, right? So if you're using the 1, 2, 3 magic program and you're counting for obnoxious behavior, so behaviors that they're not dangerous to the child or to anyone else, but they're also not behaviors that you want your kids to learn are okay. So things like whining, nagging, yelling, fighting with their siblings, stuff like that. Probably you're already irritated, right? Because as a parent, you have an expectation that your kids should be behaving and they're not. So already they're going against your expectation. So you're a little irritated that that's happening. And then if you've counted them one and they're still not listening, well, now it's possible that you're even more irritated, right? So,
Right.
you talked about this a little bit, but talk to us about sort of what impact a parent who's angry can have on a parenting strategy like counting.
Yeah, we have the no talking and no emotion rules. So the more angry you are when you're talking to the kids, the irritation is not so bad. But if you're really angry, that's going to really blow your strategy to smithereens. The kids are going to only react to your anger. And many kids will take it as a challenge. And so they'll get angry back. And now it doesn't make any difference what your strategy is. When we have a war going on, we're sunk. We're out to lunch. And so angry parent means angry kid means kids less likely to cooperate. And then, as you said, parent gets angrier and we are off to the races. So, and it's very, I don't have to tell parents out there, I've been through it, you've been through it. It's very demoralizing. Your self-esteem drops. You don't feel like a good parent. The kids are looking at you like, what's the matter with you? And it just makes for a bad hair day all around.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Kim. I see we have Kim joining us live here. Kim says that she gets frustrated because she gets to 3 and her son then says 4, 5, 6. So she has started now counting backwards as a way to solve that.
Okay, well, that's certainly one way to handle it. The other way to handle it is the kid could say the moon is made out of blueberry yogurt. Doesn't make any difference. You say 4, 5, 6. It's irrelevant what they say. They're making fun of you a little bit, and that's what's getting to her. But then that's back to the are you calm and decisive? So can you hear 4, 5, 6 from them and remain calm and decisive? That what's the issue there? Are they going to the rest period? Are they not going to the rest period? If they're not going to the rest period, are they a big kid or a little kid? If they're a little kid, you're going to escort them. If they're a big kid, you're going to do a timeout alternative. So you need to have those plans in your brain ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also, I think an important distinction to make, can you talk to us about the difference between feeling irritated or feeling angry and showing that irritation or showing that anger to the kid?
Yeah, well, the more angry you are, the more you're going to be likely to show it. But even if you're irritated, some of that's going to show. So when I say no talking, no emotion, it really means as very little as you can do. The biggest thing, the biggest problem we find with parents is yelling, and yelling is the thing that makes parents feel the most guilty. And if you get to the yelling point, you're not doing 1, 2, 3 magic anymore. You're doing something else, and it's obvious to the child. So you try and restrain it as much as possible. But I also say one of the most important things in remaining less angry or not getting furious is knowing what you're doing and not expecting talking to solve the problem. You'll find some people are talking and they're counting. They say, "That's one. Come on, I'm sick and tired of this. Look at me when I'm talking to you, young man. What do you think you're?" And it's blah blah blah, and that aggravates the whole thing. And that's not counting. So you really have to know what am I doing. You have to be ready for it. You have to accept the misbehavior and deal with it uh, well.
Absolutely. And so, what are some things that parents can do almost ahead of time to kind of mentally prepare themselves to be able to stay calm? Like Kim has said in the comments here that her son is 14 and he has special needs, and it can be really hard to stay calm when he's acting out. What can parents do ahead of time? What things can they be thinking about? What things that can they be preparing for, so that when their child does act out, because if we're being honest, your kid's going to act out, right? Like it's just going to happen. If children didn't act out, then we wouldn't be here because nobody would need 1, 2, 3
That's right.
magic, right? So what can parents do to sort of prepare themselves for those situations so that they can stay calm, they can continue to follow the plan?
Yeah, we one of the things you can do, I call it shoveling snow, and that is you have a child with ADHD, for example, a special needs kid or whatever, and they wake up in the morning, and they tend to talk and yell frequently during the day in a high pitched voice. So what do you do when you wake up in the morning? You say, well, they're going to probably talk at me in a high pitched voice 15 to 20 times a day today. And so what am I going to do when they talk at me in this aggravating high pitched voice? Am I going to count it? Am I going to leave? Am I going to do this? But you have to have your strategy ready. The other thing is, and it goes into what we sometimes refer to as taking care of yourself, but one of the basic principles of psychology is if I'm already mad or upset about something else, and then you talk in your high-pitched voice, now I'm twice as angry. So if I was up to a stress level of 5 on a scale from 1 to 10 before you talk in your high-pitched voice, what am I going to do? I'm going to shoot up to an 8 or 9. If I was at a 0 or a 1 and I was fairly calm, it'd be different. So what does that mean? It means things like, how else is your day going? Do you get up too late? And if you get up too late, are you now stressed out by being too late? Do you turn on the news and listen to all these bad things happening all over the world? And that gets you up to a 5 or 6 before they do the high pitched voice. How are you taking care? Are you working out? Are you moving? Are you burning off some of that stress? So part of it, and a lot of moms in particular, they say, "Oh, don't tell me about taking care of myself. I don't have time for that." Well, you better find the time because otherwise you're going to be very difficult to live with.
Absolutely. And if you need strategies on how to find time for yourself, the manager mom epidemic can help with that.
That's right.
So, Dr. Phelan, you've mentioned that parents can use the irritation that they're feeling constructively. What does that mean? How can parents do that?
Yeah. What it means, first of all, is that irritation is normal. Kids are irritating on a regular basis. They're irritating. It's okay to be irritated, and you need a strategy for how you're going to deal with it. Irritation and anger, Mother Nature put those in us to mobilize us to solve problems, not to kill people, but to mobilize us to solve problems, and so on. So think of the irritation as normal. Think of your kids being irritating as normal. Accept that in yourself, and then channel that energy into a good strategy for dealing with it. Maybe the strategy is counting. Maybe the strategy is you're going to set up a routine for eating, or you're going to set up a routine for homework or getting up and out in the morning if your kids are going to school, and that kind of thing. So think of that irritation as positive energy that you're going to use to solve the problem, not to yell and scream, but to solve that problem with your spouse or with your kids.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's terrific, because it can be so challenging. And, as much as our kids can be irritating, I know we've talked about that a lot, they can also be really adorable and they can be really fun. And it can be really hard to remember that when they're doing something that is frustrating you. So if you could just summarize for us, what advice would you give to parents who are finding it hard to stay calm with their kids?
Yeah, I think one of them is taken off from what you just said. Accept the fact that as a parent, you are a kind of a certain brand of yo-yo. And I mean, yo-yo, you go from one extreme to the other. This is one of the hardest things for me to accept when I was a parent, because the kids are super duper cute 1 minute, the next minute they're super duper irritating, and then they're back to being super duper cute. They're going through this whole up and down and up and down with no problem whatsoever. But for us older folks, we don't go up and down and up and down that easily, and it's very, very stressful. So, you have to accept the fact that this is a highly stressful occupation that's very underestimated in our society. Accept the irritation that goes along with it, but have a strategy that does not involve simply defaulting to reasoning and arguing and yelling.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Phelan. This has been so helpful. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please feel free to share this video or tag them in the comments. If you're not already, head on over to 123magic.com to get signed up for our newsletter. And if you want to go deeper into this topic for strategies on how to keep your cool with your kids, Dr. Phelan will be doing a free seminar next week. So I'll drop the link to that in the comments here. And I'll also go ahead and pin it to a Facebook post at the top of our feed. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.